I'm never farther than your TV.
Skating is freedom, it's rebellion, it's the art of defying gravity and carving your own path. But what happens when a skate park moves into your living room? When the thrill of the grind is reduced to the click of a controller. Today we're diving into the world of Skate or Die for the NES. Now, was this game a triumphant of the 80s skate culture, or did it bail hard? Welcome to Roots Winners Arcade. I'm your host RT, and this is the story of Skate or Die for the NES. The year was 1987. Skateboarding was riding high on the wave of popularity, with legends like Tony Hawk pushing the boundaries of what could be done on four wheels. Pop culture was saturated with skate culture, from movies like Thrashin' to the rise of skate magazines, and even the classic movie Back to the Future.
Thanks a lot, kid.
Notice I said the movie, not the game. The game sucked. With that said though, the video game industry wasn't far behind. Enter Skate or Die, a title that promised to bring the excitement, danger, and adrenaline of skateboarding into your own home. But was Skate or Die truly a game changer, or just another gimmick? Developed by Electronic Arts and published for the NES by Ultra Games, a subsidiary of Konami, Skate or Die was one of the first games to focus solely on skateboarding. Its developers were inspired by the growing skateboarding scene, aiming to capture the vibe of the culture. The game's punk aesthetic, vibrant colors, and quirky characters were designed to appeal to young skaters and gamers alike. But translating the freedom and flow of skating into an 8-bit game was no small feat. Did they pull it off? And for that, we have to look at the gameplay. Now, Skate or Die offered 5 distinct events, each with its own unique challenges and gameplay mechanics. So let's take a look at them one by one. First up, we got the Downhill Jam. The Downhill Jam is all about speed and agility. Players navigate a sloped course filled with obstacles, ramps, and rails. And points are awarded for tricks performed and successful landings. But wiping out can quickly ruin your score. The course design is fast-paced, forcing players to anticipate obstacles and master sharp turns, which can be challenging with Skate or Die's clunky controls. Next up, we got the High Jump. In the high jump, precision is key. Players must time their jumps perfectly to launch their skater as high as possible off the ramp. Success depends on building enough momentum and hitting the jump at the right angle. And while that seems simple enough, this challenges players to understand the physics of the game and rewards practice. The first time through, you're going to get it all wrong, I guarantee it. But the cool thing is you can keep playing each event over and over and over. So after a while, it'll make sense. Now the freestyle ramp is similar, but it lets players show off their true creativity. You're given a set amount of time in a non-linear fashion to perform as many tricks as possible on the halfpipe. From the various flips and spins to the various grinds and grabs, this event captures the heart of skateboarding, style, and flair. However, much like the high jump, pulling off tricks in this mode isn't easy. The controls require precise timing and a deep understanding of the game's mechanics. The sucky part is they really don't tell you how to do any of the moves in the game. You just have to experiment, trial and error, and experiment some more. Now next up is probably one of my favorite events, the Pool Joust. The Pool Joust pits players against an opponent in an empty pool. That sounds pretty dangerous to me, but back in the day, and it being a video game, I guess it was okay. Armed with jousting sticks, the goal is to knock your rival off the board while avoiding being unseated yourself. Now the opponents in this mode, each with unique designs, personalities, add a fun layer to the competition. We have 3 characters. Characters like Poser Pete, Aggro Eddie, and Lester bring their own quirks and styles to the joust. Mastering their attack patterns and defenses becomes key to victory. And lastly, probably my favorite event is the downhill race. And this is the ultimate test of speed and skill. Now, similar to the downhill jam, but more competitive, this event pits players against an AI or human opponent. The race course is packed with sharp turns, narrow paths, fences, obstacles, and it makes every second count. Winning requires a combination of quick reflexes and strategic maneuvering. What made this part stand out to me though was the design of the skaters. With the mohawk, the wristbands, the sleeveless jackets. In my opinion, I feel like these characters totally pulled off the 80s skateboarding vibe. And let's not forget about the classic part at the end when you land on the police car. That's a staple in Skate or Die. Each event in Skate or Die, in my opinion, has its own unique feel, and that adds variety to the gameplay. Now, I will admit, while mastering all of them can be frustrating and time-consuming, the sense of accomplishment when you do get it right is unmatched. The game's difficulty is part of its charm, and the challenge of it keeps players coming back for more. Now, one of the game's standout features was its cast of quirky characters. You have the famous Rodney Recluse with his iconic purple mohawk and mischievous grin, and this guy served as a skate shop owner and your guide to the game's events. Now, one of the details they put into the game that I really appreciated was when you highlighted parts of the screen that Rodney was on, you'd get a text response. If you highlighted his hair, he had a response. If you went over his tattoo, obviously this guy was in the core, and back in the day when I played this game, I didn't know what Simplify was, but it's cool they put that in the game. Pretty much Rodney embodied the punk rock ethos of skateboarding, laid back yet edgy, rebellious yet welcoming. And he was more than just a character, he was probably the spirit of the game, encouraging players to take risks and embrace the chaos. And then we had Rodney's son Lester, and he was equally memorable. As a rival skater, he brought the playful competitiveness to the game. And then you have secondary characters, the Joust opponents. In my opinion, they also add to the game's personality. Characters like Poser Pete, who tries to be hard but just can't quite fit in, and Aggro Eddie, the hot-headed rival. They each brought their own charm. So with all these characters combined, they weren't just opponents or obstacles, they were part of the vibrant world that created Skate or Die. The art style and music also reflected the skate culture of the time. With its punk rock soundtrack and bright graffiti-inspired visuals, Skate or Die felt like it was more for the skaters of the late 80s. Now with all that said, what about the world's reception? Well, when it was released, Skate or Die actually did receive mixed reviews. Some people praised its creativity and the variety of events, while others kinda thought the game sucked and criticized its steep learning curve and clunky controls. Still, even through all that, the game found a dedicated fan base and became a cult classic over time. And Skate or Die obviously had enough popularity and wasn't limited exclusively to the NES. The game also ported several other systems including the Commodore 64, Amiga, Atari ST, and the DOS-based PCs. And each version had its own quirks and graphical differences, but the core gameplay and punk rock attitude remained consistent among the ports. So while Skate or Die might not have been perfect, it definitely left its mark on gaming history. And it totally paved the way for future skateboarding games like the Tony Hawk Pro Series that would expand on to the PS2 era, and it remains a nostalgic favorite for many retro gamers. So we come to the part where we ask, was Skate or Die a faithful representation of skateboarding, or just a quirky product of its time? Well, just maybe it was a little bit of both. But one thing's for sure, it definitely captured the spirit of an era when skateboarding wasn't just a hobby, it was a way of life. So that's gonna do it for the story of Skate or Die. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into gaming history, please consider hitting the like button, subscribe, as it helps the channel grow, and you don't miss any more gaming information on this channel. And let me know in the comments, what are your favorite memories of Skate or Die? Did you like the game? Did it suck? And until next time, as always, take care of yourself, protect your inner peace, God bless you, and we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching.